Chapter 51, Massacre of the Bandit Alliance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Open fire. Free fire, Lu Long yelled, and instantly, a barrage of arrows filled the air, even more intense than a volley. On the front lines, the charging bandits slammed into what felt like an impenetrable wall. They dropped like flies, cut down at 100 paces. Each arrow seemed to pierce through 2 or 3 of them. It was a gruesome sight. The girl, still held by Li Mufan on the Kirin, stared wide-eyed. During their escape, she'd seen humans and aliens clash in the wilderness, but usually both sides took heavy losses, or the aliens won. Never in her wildest dreams had she imagined such a one-sided slaughter. She wasn't the only one. The other refugees watched in stunned disbelief. Were these really human soldiers? Could they be heavenly warriors sent to save them? That 100-pace stretch had become a death zone. In mere moments, at least 2,000 bodies littered the ground. Any human army would have broken and run by now, but the aliens were different. The carnage only stoked the savagery in their blood. Eyes blazing, they charged toward the fortified camp, even without their leader urging them on. 100 paces. 80 paces. 50 paces. Arrows still rained down, but now the two sides were only 50 paces apart. Li Mufan could see the raw, feral look on the aliens' faces. Charge! Humans suck at close combat. Get in there and kill them all, someone shouted, and the alien bandits seemed to go even crazier. Seeing the distance closing, Li Mufan set the girl down and nodded to Fan Qingyue beside him. Fan Qingyue shouted, Jiangren, Wang Ping. Get the refugees out of here, now. 2 men in plain clothes, an old man and a young one, immediately took the girl and her brother away, shouting orders to the civilians in the camp. Li Mufan raised his long saber and roared, let's go to war. Tiger, the guards battalion roared back, and more than 200 mounted soldiers, clad in full armor, charged forward like a hurricane. In the blink of an eye, it was a maelstrom of blood and carnage. Against the might of the guards battalion, the bandits didn't stand a chance. The moment they clashed, the bandits were hacked to pieces, hundreds of them at once. Xuanhuan and Xuanhuan led the charge. These two colonists at the 3rd level of body refinement were like tigers among sheep. Xuanhuan's Guangong blade swept everything before it, cutting like a god of death. Being near him was like being in hell. Xuanhuan was just as unstoppable. Freshly promoted and wielding a spear she'd found in the fog, she looked every bit the soldier in her military uniform. Her spear flashed like lightning as she trampled the enemy underhoof, inflicting massive casualties. On the other side, Lu Long and Zhang Tai were holding their own, slashing and cutting with long swords in hand, limbs flying everywhere in a bloody storm. Impossible, this is impossible. The Earth Demon leader watched the murderous humans on the battlefield in utter disbelief, his whole body trembling. Didn't you say humans are useless in close combat? Why are these people so powerful? The Iron Wolf leader, his eyes bloodshot, said, Boss Demon, these humans are well equipped and strong. If this keeps up, our brothers won't last. How about we swarm them and wipe them out? All right. Let's do it, the Earth Demon leader roared. Brothers, follow me and kill these scum. Kill. The remaining half of the bandits surged forward with a battle cry. Chapter 52, Total Annihilation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The battle intensified. The bandit horde was huge, and the guard battalion fought with everything they had. The air filled with screams and the smell of blood. Lu Long, Zhang Tai, Xuanhuan, and Xuanhuan led the charge, cutting through the enemy lines. But even they couldn't compare to Li Mufan's raw power on the battlefield. He looked like a god of war in his red-plumed helmet, polished steel armor, and the purple-gold sword in his hand. But his mount, Takshu, a snow-white unicorn, was the real showstopper. Unicorns were incredibly rare. Even though Takshu was young, its strength was already at the 6th level of body refinement, enhanced by genetic modifications. Each level of body refinement was a major leap. The difference between the 3rd and 4th levels was massive. Xuanhuan and Xuanhuan were unbeatable at the 3rd level, imagine the 6th. Takshu plowed through the bandits, and anyone it charged was either crushed or torn apart. Li Mufan slashed with his sword, each strike precise and deadly thanks to his training with the purple lightning thunder sword. Man and beast tore through the bandits' ranks. With a mighty roar, Li Mufan led another charge. He was unstoppable. From a distance, it looked like a white horse cutting across the field, scattering everything in its path. Human. You're too damn cocky. Eat my blade. The Iron Wolf leader, relying on his second-level body refinement strength, charged Li Mufan. Get out of my way. Li Mufan roared. A sickening crack followed, and the Iron Wolf leader's head flew through the air. As his body crumbled, the last thing he saw was the boy who had dismissed his life, speeding away. I want them all. Li Mufan's words from the day before echoed in his mind. Then, darkness, one strike. Li Mufan had just achieved his first ever kill against a stronger foe. Ah! The wolf leader's dead. The screams were lost in the roar of battle. Swish, swish, swish. A volley of arrows flew from the flank, piercing the bandits' chests. The hunter special forces, who had been lying in wait, had finally joined the fray. Unlike the guards' red cloaks, the hunters wore black steel armor and carried repeating crossbows Li Mufan had designed. These crossbows could fire 3 shots in rapid succession, far superior to regular bows. There were only 8 hunters, but their marksmanship was deadly. They stayed back, picking off enemies with deadly efficiency. The Earth Demon leader was losing it. A level above Zhang Tai, he should have been winning the fight. But his inferior weapon was no match for Zhang Tai's fine steel sword. He couldn't bring his superior strength to bear. His heart bled as he watched the humans cut through his bandit coalition. Years of work were crumbling around him. The battle lasted less than 30 minutes. The bandits were terrified and routed. Li Mufan cut down an Earth Demon bandit. Finding no more enemies willing to step forward, covered in blood, he roared, the bandits are done. Finish this. The generals, hearing his command, charged forward, cutting down dozens more bandits. The hunter troops, hearing the signal, drew swords and joined the fight. Each of the 8 hunters was at least a first-level body refiner, enhanced by gene boosters and combat drugs, making them killing machines. They cut through the fray like black tornadoes. It was the last straw. The bandit coalition broke. Once the rout began, there was no stopping it. The leader's shouts were ignored. They're monsters. These humans are monsters. Run for your lives. Seeing the chaos, the generals needed no further encouragement. They gave chase. Surrender or die. Li Mufan roared, his voice booming across the field. Surrender or die. The guard camp echoed, a thunderous wave. No, don't kill me. I surrender. Terror-stricken, the bandits threw down their weapons and knelt. The entire battlefield was on its knees. Those who resisted were cut down immediately. Seeing that the battle was over, Lu Long rode up beside Li Mufan. Master, some of them are getting away. Should we hunt them down? Li Mufan sneered. They can't run forever. Let them live a little longer. Lu Long, tell Fan Qingyue and Xuanhuan to tend to the wounded immediately. Aqiang and Zhang Tai will guard the prisoners. You and a few others will escort the refugees back to camp. Yes, master. Lu Long carried out his orders. By evening, the troops had returned to camp. After a quick headcount, Lu Long reported that the camp held about 30,000 refugees and over 3,000 prisoners. The sudden influx of 40,000 people put a huge strain on the camp, and housing, food, and winter supplies were desperately needed. Li Mufan looked at the refugees, barely clothed and hungry. The scale of the problem was enormous. He ordered Aqiang to drop everything and focus on building temporary wooden houses. Whether villagers or prisoners, anyone who could work was sent to the construction site. Late autumn was approaching. If they didn't finish the wooden houses quickly, people would freeze to death. In a corner of the camp, Fan Qingyue and the village women set up a makeshift food distribution point. Li Mufan had brought a warehouse full of dried meat biscuits, or the refugees would have starved before the cold could kill them. Time was short. Everyone worked through the night, finally finishing 500 large wooden houses before midnight. More than a dozen refugees crammed into each house, trying to survive the night. Chapter 53 Food Crisis. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Late at night, after a day of fighting, the soldiers were asleep, and the refugees finally found peace after a bowl of warm soup. Barracks, conference room. The room was brightly lit by 4 fluorescent lamps Mufan had brought from the other world. Their special shellac burned for hours, providing much better light than candles. Once everyone was seated, Mufan addressed the tired-looking generals. Thanks for all the hard work. I won't sugarcoat it, you all know the situation. Lu Long, give us the battle report. Lu Long straightened up. Sir, gentlemen, our personal guard battalion eliminated over 5,000 enemies in this engagement, captured 3,800 prisoners, and seized a huge amount of weapons and armor. Xuanhuan also recovered over 10,000 gold coins and 50,000 silver coins from the battlefield. He paused. 30 guardsmen suffered minor injuries, but they're all patched up and doing fine. We lost no one. Even though they were expecting good news, Lu Long's report left everyone speechless, wiping out 5,000 bandits with practically no casualties. The numbers were unbelievable. This wasn't just a victory, it was a complete and utter rout. Mufan nodded, satisfied. Good. If word of this gets out, it'll scare the hell out of some folks. The others chuckled. A victory like this was definitely something to brag about later. See to it that our injured men get the best care. Also, take half of the gold and silver we seized and distribute it among the troops. Xuanhuan, tomorrow start a ledger to record the names of all the soldiers who distinguished themselves. We'll make sure they are rewarded later. Thank you, sir, that they didn't have a formal system for awarding merit yet, so this would have to do for now. They really needed a good administrator to get things running smoothly. What's our total refugee count? Do we have a head count? Fan Xuanhuan replied, I made a rough estimate while distributing food earlier. We're looking at about 35,000 people. And how many prisoners? Lu Long answered, 3,800. Are we going to run out of food? Fan Xuanhuan looked uncomfortable. At the current rate, we only have about 6 days' worth left in the warehouse. Mufan frowned, food was always a problem. The tens of thousands of pemmican he brought over last time were already gone. Xuanhuan, how long until your crops are ready for harvest? Xuanhuan responded, Sir, at least another 10 days. 10 more days. Do we have to go back and buy more food? Mufan thought. The silver in space was precious. If they blew it all on food, how would they ever develop? Seeing his concern, Lu Long hesitantly asked, Sir, could we send out a patrol to deal with some local bandits? That might help with the immediate problem. Mufan considered it for a moment, then shook his head. Those bandit villages are well hidden, and easy to defend. The trip itself would take time, and an attack would take even longer. I don't think we'd make it in time. Chapter 54, Steady Progress and Gradual Advancement. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Beast, who'd been quiet, finally spoke up. Boss, I spotted a ton of fish migrating up the Yinsang River, behind the North Mountains. If we cast a net, we could haul in a huge catch. He trailed off as everyone stared at him, his voice fading. Mufan hadn't seen Beast in a while, and he noticed the kid had gotten even better looking. Dressed in drag, he'd be a real knockout. Alright, Beast, Mufan said, clearing his throat. I'm putting you in charge of this. You take a crew out fishing first thing tomorrow morning. This is crucial, understand? The survival of everyone here depends on it. No excuses. Get it done. Yes, sir. Okay, food situation sorted for now. Let's talk about the territory's future. I want to hear everyone's ideas. But these guys were all about leading troops into battle, not exactly brimming with innovative ideas. They exchanged glances and then chorused, whatever you say, boss. You guys. Mufan was speechless. Xuanhuan, how many young people are among the refugees? Fan Xuanhuan sighed softly. Mostly young adults, actually. Mufan nodded. Escaping takes stamina. Naturally, the young and strong were the only ones who could make it all the way here. after a moment of silence, he said firmly, "This place is a wreck and needs a complete overhaul. We can't afford another fight anytime soon. Lu Long, your combat team is off construction duty. Starting tomorrow, the whole camp is on lockdown. Nobody in or out without my say-so. Anyone who violates that order faces military justice. Also, you and Coach Lin will pick 2,000 of the strongest refugees and form a new army. You'll command it, and Lin Chon will be your second in command. We're gonna ramp up training and get them battle-ready ASAP." "Yes, sir," that they both responded eagerly, practically chomping at the bit. "Xuanhuan, I'm adding 3,000 people to your planting team. We need to increase the cultivated area 5-fold. Xuanhuan responded immediately, "Yes, boss." Li Mufan turned to Zhang Tai, "Zhang Tai. Give the stone-cutting team another 5,000 workers. We gotta keep the base supplied with stone." Zhang Tai gave a quick bow, "You got it, boss." "Ah beast, I'm allocating 1,000 of your people to fishing. I want those rivers and streams cleaned out." "Yes, sir." "Ah Qiang. The rest of the crew is yours. Forget about everything else and focus on building private housing for me." "Yes." Once Li Mufan had finished assigning tasks, he looked at everyone and added, "Try to keep families together when you're picking people. All the dangerous, heavy lifting work should be done by the prisoners. And let the people know that if they work hard, they'll get 1 silver coin a month. I, Li Mufan, guarantee it." Hearing this, everyone stood up, cupped their hands, and said in unison, "We will obey, General." That late-night meeting wrapped up, setting the stage for the territory's future development. Slow and steady wins the race. 2 days later, early in the morning, Li Mufan took 8 of the hunting team for a routine patrol of the camp. Fan Qingyue was swamped with work, so he couldn't pull her away. Li Mufan had considered putting the little girl he'd rescued in charge of his daily needs, but seeing how worried she was about her brother, he decided to handle things himself. He greeted the civilians warmly along the way. The territory was still a mess, but everyone seemed cheerful and content. After wandering around, he reached the secret cave, nodded to the hunters, closed his eyes, and entered the ring world. The moment he regained consciousness, a system notification popped into his head. Ding dong. Detected that the population of the host territory with a loyalty exceeding 60 is 10,321. The task has been completed ahead of schedule. Do you choose to receive the reward at this time? Chapter 55, Naval Forces. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Li Mufan was caught off guard. "Wait, what? System, can you break that down for me? You can choose to wrap up the task right now, and the rewards will be based on your current progress. Or, you can wait until the deadline and collect the rewards then." He didn't hesitate. "Postpone, we've got over 30,000 people here, and only a third are even remotely loyal. Why jump the gun? There's plenty of time left, so wouldn't it be smarter to wait and get a bigger payout? Hey system, remember that item card I had left over? Let's use it." Ding. Item card activated. You've received a machining table. Sweet. Li Mufan grinned. Looks like today is my lucky day. This machining table is key for crafting all sorts of stuff. Plus, we've got that energy core providing juice, so we can get right to work. He stepped outside and called for Xuanhuan. "Quit loafing around. Get everyone mining the copper nearby. I've got big plans for it." "Yes, master." After sending the settlers to work, Li Mufan headed back inside to keep training. Strength is everything. 5 days later, in Ring World time, the base alarm blared. Another attack. Warning. Pirates have airdropped near the colony. They will attack shortly. Pirates. With the colony's defenses, only a full-scale assault by the Tianzhou group would even give him pause. Hunters and mechanical tribes were just pests, pirates were small fry. He was about to ignore the alert, but then a thought struck him. Hunters are good fighters, but what about pirates? The shipyard is under construction. These pirates could be perfect sailors, delivered right to our doorstep. He charged outside, yelling, "Xuanhuan! Take them alive!" 15 minutes later, the battle was over, every last one of the 30-odd pirates was taken down, Xuanhuan's crew rounded up 20 survivors. The cell was overflowing. Li Mufan checked out the pirates' stats. Not bad. A quick system scan confirmed they were water battle specialists. Xuanhuan, treat them well. Good food, good drink. Let's get them on our side ASAP. 10 days flew by. Li Mufan opened his wallet, spending over half the base's silver on follower cards, and bringing 10 pirates directly into his fold. The leader, Jack, was already a level 1 body refiner. The other 9 were stuck at a bottleneck, but a few Peiyuan pills should get them moving. Besides the pirates, Li Mufan also brought in Demu, who he captured during the very first attack. He's improved across the board since joining the colony, and he's got a knack for crafting. After some deliberation, Li Mufan decided to give him a shot. He was going to put the machining table in his hands. Jack, you guys find Xiang and report to him. He'll lay out the plan. Yes, master, that the 10 pirates took off. Since the system would automatically upload essential info about the territory, they could get to work right away. Damu, you should also go find Xiang. We've got the copper. Tell him to get the cable laid ASAP. If he's tied up, find his wife, Xuanhuan. Pointing to the blue machining table in the corner, he continued, this thing is yours now. Start cranking out some parts. I'll fill you in on the rest later. Yes, master. Li Mufan, his hands clasped behind his back, strolled out of the cave. Autumn faded into winter. Snowflakes drifted down, covering the Yunlan plain in a thick white blanket. It had been over a month since the anti-bandit operation. The major city stood against the snowy backdrop. Yunlan City, the largest in the Yunlan plain, boasted a population of 1 million. It was situated on the east side of the Yinsang River, bordering the Sun and Moon Kingdom to the west. The city was originally built by elves. Later, a member of the Red Fox clan earned the elves' gratitude and became the city lord. Over time, the Red Fox clan became the city's true rulers. While it was still technically under elven authority, it was practically autonomous. Yunlan City was a melting pot, home to people of all races in Yunzhou. In the city lord's mansion, a middle-aged Red Fox clan member stood at the window, gazing at the snowy landscape. Red foxes weren't like minotaurs or dog-headed men. They looked mostly human, save for their red ears and furry tails. The man was handsome, his eyes bright and thoughtful as he looked out. A Red Fox tribesman pushed open the door, bowed slightly, and announced, "City Lord, the spy has returned." The forces clashing in the north were humans and bandits, the Earth Demon tribe, among others. Humans? The Red Fox City Lord frowned. The humans are in a war with the Blood Wolf and Barbarian Bull tribes. Why would they come here looking for trouble? Word is, this human group doesn't belong to anyone. They're just horse thieves. Horse thieves. The city lord paused, then chuckled. If the humans aren't holed up in a city, they're out robbing folks. Did you find out how many of these horse thieves there are? The tribesman hesitated. According to the spy, it seems there are only 300 or 400 people. Nonsense. Are you telling me 300 or 400 humans wiped out tens of thousands of bandits? Go check again. The tribesman bowed and turned to leave, but the city lord called out, and what about Dongshan City? Did you find out the truth? The tribesman frowned. Dongshan City only has a garrison of 5,000, but the humans pay tribute to the elves every year. We can't act without their permission. The elves are too busy to care about this. But the city lord waved a dismissive hand. Alone in his chambers, the Red Fox City Lord stared in the direction of Dongshan City, a flicker of ambition in his eyes. Chapter 56, The Prologue to Great Development. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Li Mufan's camp, a Ming banner snapped in the wind above the administrative building. Li Mufan, inspired by the sun and moon imagery from his homeland, had officially named his territory Mingqing just 2 weeks prior. The 2,000 newly trained soldiers were now called the Ming Army. Ming held a deeper meaning for Li Mufan. He remembered the Ming dynasty on Earth, when the Chinese overthrew foreign rulers and ushered in an era of prosperity. He secretly hoped to lead his army to victory across the land, restoring humanity to its former glory. He kept this ambition to himself. Despite the light snowfall, construction continued at a fever pitch. About 3 weeks ago, Xuanhuan's crops finally came in, and with Ashu's abundant fish catches, the civilians had plenty to eat. They recovered from near starvation, and their faces regained color. Ashu had also built several new fish ponds near the Lansang River, securing the base's future food supply. The construction site buzzed with activity. Adults hauled stones while kids in thick winter clothes threw snowballs, creating a lively scene. Xuanhuan cultivated not just staples like potatoes, corn, and rice, but also cotton, herbs, and other essentials. After the cotton harvest, Li Mufan immediately had everyone make cotton clothes and quilts, warming both bodies and spirits during the harsh winter. After a month of intense construction, 50 new houses were finished. Unlike most buildings in Tianhan continent, a Chang, following Li Mufan's instructions, built apartment-style housing, 3-story buildings with 4 units each, and 5 families per unit, making better use of space. These 50 houses could only accommodate 9,000 people, based on a family size of 3. After consulting with everyone, Li Mufan implemented a simple reward system. Those who worked the hardest would get to move in first. The system ignited the civilians' enthusiasm. Everyone wanted a new home. Construction accelerated again. It wouldn't be long before they solved the housing problem for all 30,000 people. The new army's training also progressed steadily. Li Mufan wasn't a military expert, but he knew that discipline was paramount for an effective fighting force. Soldiers had to follow orders, no exceptions. He emphasized discipline repeatedly during his inspections of the barracks, even demonstrating commands he'd learned in military training back on Earth. He instructed Lu Long and Lin Chong to lead by example, starting with stance and marching drills. For a month, the new recruits focused solely on discipline. Though some were confused, the military camp provided food, plenty of meat and rice, and pay. For these recruits, who'd rarely even tasted meat before, any training was worthwhile. Li Mufan held back the Peiyuan pills for now. He didn't have enough to go around, and the recruits' loyalty averaged around 80%. He planned to wait until their loyalty reached 90% before distributing the pills. Lin Chong, as a former Imperial Army instructor, quickly grasped Li Mufan's training methods. While Lu Long was occupied with other duties, Lin Chong oversaw the daily training of the main force. Xuanhuan's planted area had doubled. Not even heavy snow could negate the effects of the super fertilizer. Sowing continued as usual, with only a slightly slower growth rate. Zhang Tai's stone-cutting team was the most productive. Like general, like soldier. The stone cutters were all hot-tempered, working shirtless even in the dead of winter, which made Li Mufan shiver just watching them. Chapter 57, The Princess Works Part-Time as a Maid. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The real gem is Ashu's ranch. After keeping quiet initially, Ashu finally tapped into his natural talents and, almost miraculously, tamed a herd of 300 red fire horses. Red fire horses are a type of magical creature, but more trainable and intelligent than most. Still, they're beasts of magic, making them incredibly difficult to tame. When fully grown, their strength is comparable to someone deep into physical training, far stronger than regular horses, making them ideal mounts. A full-grown red fire horse can fetch upwards of 1,000 gold coins, way more than typical weapons or armor, highlighting their value. Li Mufan gave one to each of his old buddies. They were so thrilled, they probably laughed about it in their sleep. Besides the red fire horses, Ashu also tamed a large number of migrating wild yaks. These aren't just for wool and milk, they can haul goods and even plow fields. Labor's in short supply everywhere in town, so the yaks were put to work immediately. The ranch also has a ton of chickens and quail. Once the farm expands, everyone can have eggs and milk every morning. Sounds pretty sweet. The town residents have had it pretty good this last month of building up the town. They get 3 square meals a day and work from sunup to sundown. But the prisoners? They're having a rough time. All the dirty, backbreaking, and dangerous jobs are theirs. There were almost 5,000 prisoners at the start, and 300 died in the first month. At this rate, They'll all be gone in less than 2 years. Li Mufan didn't shed a tear for them. These bandits were bloodthirsty. Even if they died, they'd be at it again if they had the chance. He's got the makings of a real tyrant. Administrative center, meeting hall. Li Mufan stared at the massive map on the wall for a good half hour, lost in thought. What's this? Still thinking about taking Yunlan City? The voice was crisp and beautiful. It was Emile, the elf princess. As a prisoner, Li Mufan wasn't about to let her freeload. Since he needed maids, he just put the princess to work. Turning to the beautiful elf, Li Mufan smiled. Princess, how do you think Mingqing should grow from here? Emile looked away, refusing to answer. Li Mufan wasn't bothered. He just chuckled. Go pour me a cup of tea. Aren't you afraid I'll poison it? Poison? Princess, if you wanted to poison me, you could just kill me outright. I've got plenty of brothers here, and you're worth a fortune. Why bother with poison? Emile was speechless. She huffed and, with her anklet jingling, headed out. Even though the princess is frail, she's reached the 3rd level of physical refinement, a bit stronger than Li Mufan. Without her bracelets and anklets, she'd be a real handful. Just then, Fan Qingyue walked in. Seeing Emile, she gave a slight bow, then hurried over to Li Mufan. Master, Black Dragon reports that the annual auction of 100 races will be held in the City of Chaos early next spring. Li Mufan nodded, still intently focused on the map. Seeing the elf princess returning with tea, Fan Qingyue seemed uneasy. She whispered, Master, the princess. Before she could finish, Li Mufan waved her off. It's fine. I have my reasons. Yes, master. With a polite response and a nod to Emile, Fan Qingyue quickly left. Chapter 58, Not Ashamed, but Proud. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Nope, your tea. Li Mufan took the warm cup and smiled at Emile, who looked sulky. Princess, don't get your feathers ruffled. You ended up in my hands, that's all. It's not like I'd ever let you go back. But with the nobles and the Yasha clan at each other's throats right now, you know what would happen if I just released you. Humph, you humans started the whole war and then you try to pin it on the Yiksha. That's low. Li Mufan chuckled. You think this war is just about you? Your elves have been living high on the hog for centuries, while the Yiksha have been busting their butts, clawing their way up from a 2-bit race to a serious threat. You think a bunch of go-getters like that are going to ignore all the easy pickings around them? Emile knew he had a point. Even if it wasn't for her, the Yiksha clan would have cooked up some reason to start a fight. Seeing she was quiet, Li Mufan gave Emile a light pat on the shoulder, a weird look on his face. You should be glad you're stuck with me. If some other group got their hands on you, bandits or whoever, you'd be in for a world of hurt. Emile blinked, then finally caught his drift, her cheeks flaming. What's that supposed to mean, you creep? Me, a creep? Li Mufan didn't seem at all bothered by the insult. In fact, he looked downright pleased. He burst out laughing. You just play nice, and maybe someday I'll be in a good enough mood to cut you loose. Otherwise, I might just decide to end it all right here and now. You're a pervert. A dirty, nasty pervert. I'll get you for this. Time flew, and before they knew it, spring had sprung. A massive ship chugged down the Yinsang River. This wasn't your run-of-the-mill Yunzhou riverboat. This thing was covered head to toe in iron plating, no sails, no oars. A smokestack jutted out from the middle of the deck, belching black smoke. From a distance, it looked like some kind of gigantic, armored beast. On the bow, Li Mufan stood with his hands clasped behind his back, taking in the riverside scenery with a faint smile. He was in a great mood. The shipyard had finally wrapped up construction 2 months ago. By sheer luck, Li Mufan had just pulled a fuel generator from a prize cart. Since the city's power core was already humming along nicely, he had Aqiang reworked the generator into an engine for an armored ship. Thanks to the shipbuilding tech he'd already acquired, Aqiang could build anything that existed in the ring world, so an armored ship was small potatoes. Now, after 2 months, the ship was finally seaworthy. Following a day-long shakedown cruise, Li Mufan had set off south with a ton of supplies and a company of hunters, headed for Chaos City. He wasn't about to miss the biggest party of the year in Yunzhou. This time, since all the generals had their plates full, he decided to leave them behind. The hunters and Jack's navy should be more than enough to keep him safe. On another note, after 3 months of training and a steady diet of elixirs, Li Mufan had actually advanced to the 4th level of the body refining realm. Qingyun Xiandao was worth its weight in gold. That kind of progress was insane. Before he knew it, he was the baddest dude in Mingcheng. He had also popped into the ring dimension a bunch of times over the past 3 months, weathered a few ambushes, and taken a bunch of prisoners. The hunter company now numbered 22. After getting hooked up with genetic enhancers and pounding down a ton of elixirs, all of them had hit the 2nd level of the body refining realm. The navy was up to 25 guys, too. These were all elite fighters culled from the ring world, not just your run-of-the-mill soldiers. The armored ship cruised smoothly down the river. Black Moon walked up beside him. "Master, there's a gorge up ahead. Jack wanted to know if you want to detour around it." "A gorge, huh?" Chapter 59, The Surprise Appearance of a High-Level Magical Beast. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Recalling everything that went down that day, Li Mufan sighed. "There's a branch leading to Macho Lake up ahead in Jinlan grassland. Let's head that way." "Yes, master. The water in Ishian Gorge is rough enough to sink an ironclad ship. We'll have to take the long way around." He was about to turn and go inside when he spotted a group of people on the shore. Squinting, he saw about 100 people with a sun and moon flag waving in the breeze. Could it be them? Li Mufan sized up the distance, then glanced at the mortars mounted on the ship. After a moment's hesitation, he just smiled, shook his head, and went inside. Farther off, a group of cavalry, inside a carriage. Wang Mingyu seemed to sense something. She pulled back the curtain and looked toward the Yinsong River. Blue sky, clear water, egrets, green mountains, just a wisp of black smoke slowly fading away. "Sister Wang, what's wrong?" Li Haotian asked, surprised. Wang Mingyu frowned, then smiled and shook her head. "It's nothing, Your Majesty." The water of Macho Lake sparkled, like a pearl set in the earth. "What a spot. Hey Yue, wouldn't you say it's a waste of good real estate to leave a place like this unoccupied?" The woman with dark skin and short hair replied, "I've been here a few times scouting. Folks from Yunlan City aren't far, and they come here pretty often." "Oh. The red foxes." Li Mufan stroked his chin, his eyes gleaming as he looked toward Yunlan City, but then, something caught his eye. "What the heck is that?" He Lung jumped. He looked and saw a huge gorilla leaping across the water in the distance, heading straight for them. "Quick, Jack, floor it. Everyone, get up here." "Yes." He Lung shouted and took off like a shot. In seconds, the iron ship picked up speed, and all 22 hunters were in position. He Lung, use the mortar. Open fire. Everyone else, crossbows. Li Mufan had scored the mortars with his crummy item card. 3 machines with 1 card. Demu had cranked out the shells on the machining table. 2 full boxes worth. Bang, 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 .3 muffled explosions, 3 shells launched, but the giant ape was too fast and dodged them all. Thwack, a volley of crossbow bolts flew toward the giant ape, sinking into its flesh with dull thuds. Its thick hide couldn't stop the mid-grade crossbows. Roar, the giant ape roared in pain, pounding its chest, enraged. Just as it was beating its chest, the mortar fired again. Boom! Boom! .2 explosions, and green smoke billowed around the giant ape. 2 ragged, bloody holes marked where the shells had hit. The giant ape seemed stunned, staring blankly at the iron ship. It hadn't thought that a hunk of metal could blast it like that. Then, it let out an earth-shattering roar. Roaring, it charged toward the iron ship. Li Mufan roared back, "Grenades! Toss 'em!" The hunters pulled old-fashioned grenades from their belts and hurled them at the giant ape. Boom, 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 boom. Chapter 60 Mysterious Brother and Sister. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A series of explosions ripped through the air as dozens of grenades detonated. Amid the ear-splitting blasts and heart-wrenching screams, the giant ape's colossal body crashed to the ground in a cloud of smoke. As the smoke cleared, everyone aboard the ship stared in disbelief. The giant ape was a mangled mess of blood and charred flesh, green smoke still rising from its blackened remains. Its massive, terrifying eyes were fixed on Mtlnovel and the others, even in death. Talk about overkill, the enormous corpse began to sink. An idea sparked in Mtlnovel's mind. Haul it up, quick. This thing's worth a fortune, no idea what grade monster it is, but it's gotta be valuable, catch it, and we'll sell it. The armored ship was equipped with salvage gear. As he directed Jack and the crew, a sudden gust of wind buffeted him, blurring his vision. When he could see again, he nearly jumped out of his skin. 2 young men, dressed entirely in white, had materialized on the bow of the ship. Mtlnovel, excited, yelled, "Hey! You guys give me. Hold up a sec, pal." One of the young men raised a hand to stop him. "We've been chasing this water monkey halfway across the country. We don't mean any harm." Mtlnovel, confused, sized them up. The one who spoke was handsome, dressed in white, and wore a disarming smile. Next to him stood a shorter, slender figure in a white cap, strikingly handsome with bright eyes and a cool demeanor. "Wait a minute, that's a girl in disguise. And a cute one, too." Mtlnovel immediately recognized the deception. Despite the masculine attire, an undeniable elegance shone through. "So, who exactly are you two?" The young man in white chuckled, clasped his hands together, and said, "We're just traveling scholars. We saw this beast attacking someone back on the road. We fought it off, but it got away. We've been chasing it ever since. We appreciate your help in taking down this menace." "Traveling scholars, huh?" Mtlnovel rolled his eyes. "Scholars who can fight water apes and appear on deck like a whirlwind." Right, since they were keeping their cards close to their chest, he wouldn't press the issue. He returned the gesture, cupping his own hands. "Glad to help, I guess. But if you don't mind my asking, what kind of beast was that thing?" The young man replied, "That was a Yinsong water monkey beast, a 9th-level body refinement realm monster. They're known for being vicious and lecherous, and they've caused a lot of trouble." "Refining, 9th-level body refinement realm." Mtlnovel's eyes darted to the ape's corpse dangling at the stern, then back to the smiling young man in white. He swallowed hard. Suddenly, his face turned serious. "Well, since the monster's dead, I feel like it's our duty to give it a proper send-off. As soon as we hit land, I'll find a place to burn the corpse as a sacrifice to atone for its crimes." The 2 travelers exchanged a surprised look. The girl in men's clothing gave him an indifferent glance. Then, the young man in white threw his head back and laughed. "That's a noble sentiment, but it'd be a waste to burn the body. It died, but I heard it before you showed up. How about we split the spoils?" "Sounds fair. How do you want to divvy it up?" The young man in white smiled. "The magic crystal inside the beast would be useful to us. How about you let us have it, and you can keep the rest?" While the price difference between the corpse and the magic crystal wasn't huge, magic crystals were more versatile and easier to sell. Sensing Mtlnovel's hesitation, the young man in white smiled faintly.